welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche pregame podcast this time. As
I was wondering where that was going.
Yeah.
'Cause there was like a pause and it was like, yeah, what are we doing?
can't say postgame for this one.
Yeah.
We waited as long as we could, hoping to bring you guys news about how long the Avs were going to be without Nazem Kadri, and that won't be decided until right before game time. Basically, it sounds like.
Well,
so.
we don't even know that.
Yeah.
Right. All we know is that the match penalty that he received
exists for this coming game.
Yeah, means that he will not be available tonight, even though he was skating around at morning skate and flew with the team and. For all intents and purposes, is acting like he's still part of it.
I mean, that sure seems like they think he'll be there for Game 4, I guess. But
if this was just a one-game suspension and they have basically a 2 full day decision-making process
to not do anything,
and it's one game, it would be.
Boy.
I
surprising to say the least.
Yeah, that's a good. Surprising. I don't want to pass judgment, but
for sure.
It would be surprising.
So. Regardless of whatever that situation is, as we mentioned, the Avs will be without him tonight, which means they do have to make lineup decisions. It did sound like Jared Bednar was going to play Soderberg. It seemed like he was good to go.
Yeah, so Soderberg comes into the lineup. That's the end. That's the end of what we know about this.
Yep. The line combos are still totally up in the air.
Let me tell you how glad I was that I did not fly to St. Louis to sit through morning skate to know nothing.
To learn absolutely zero.
Yeah. To watch them skate around, do special teams practice, and not know what's happening with the rest of the lineup. I would have been very frustrated at the $40 for that flight.
Yep.
So.
Are they that cheap right now? Wow.
Oh, dude, flying anywhere right now is...
I bet,
it's still great. It's still pandemic pricing, so...
Get it, I guess.
Yeah, if you're cool with it, now's the time.
Soderberg in. How high do you drop him up the lineup?
So, I would... we talked about this a little bit the other day.
We did.
That... Confer, Jost.
Easy to just slip him up,
Yeah. If they really wanted to, they could do what I talked about at the start of the season and really go with pairs.
Yeah. Ride or die with Jost Nichushkin a little bit.
Well, and to me, this is just if they wanted to, maybe get a little bit of an all-line, combination spark. You put Burakovsky on that left side on the top line.
Sure.
You drop Landeskog down. And you put Landeskog with Jost and Nichushkin. And
that's a mean line, too.
And that's what I'm saying. Well, and it gives them a little bit more offensive flair because right now it feels like with Brandon Saad there, it feels like they're maybe missing a little punch.
Grindy for sure. Yeah.
And then you kind of misfit it up with Saad.
Got people crawling around the studio right now.
And then you kind of misfit it up with Saad, Comfer, and Donskoy, where you get a little bit of grindiness, a little bit of goal scoring, a little bit of puck carrying, and and then your fourth line is your land of leftovers, right? Soderberg comes in and he chills there.
We all know how the streaks go with guys like Donskoy, and he's scoring in the series so far. So
yeah, well, he's where he's been successful is right in front of the net.
Yep,
and that's one reason you put him away.
Sure,
you have him do that on a line with other guys that won't necessarily
that can be
do
shooters
that.
Or whatever.
Yeah, and I'd like to see. I think Saad's played really well. I'd like to see that.
Give it a go.
Translate.
Yeah.
And then minutes distribution.
Of course.
Heavy on of course. McKinnon.
The top guys are getting 22, 23, 24 minutes.
So heavy on McKinnon and Rantanen, and then obviously if
you're up by 3, it's a different story.
They will probably not do what I'm talking about and put Landeskog there. Then you just you roll that top line and you're comfortable with just every third shift. Toss them out there.
Skipping the fourth line more than a few times, probably.
Yeah. The other thing. The Blues with no Bortuzzo and no Justin Falk.
Yep.
So
And
what
still
do they?
down Perron as well.
Maybe Vince Dunn plays. Vince Dunn was the one that came off the protocol list.
Yep.
He skated this morning. St. Louis writers have left open the possibility that he plays, which would be absurd to me because
how
every
long has
other
he been
person
out for?
who comes off the COVID list has to go through like a couple of days of stuff. So
Yeah, look if he. Yeah.
Do we know why they're waiting on Kadri's penalty decision?
no.
idea.
Honestly, to me, it sounds. This is purely my theory craft here. It sounds. It feels to me like if it was going to be 2 games, they would have just done it. To me, it feels like they're about to throw the biggest book that has ever been thrown at a guy in the postseason, and they're just going to be like, okay, well, we need to bring in a lawyer or two. We need to prepare for this to be,
battle,
for an appeal and for the Players Association and blah 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 blah.
My other. This is purely speculation on my part, but
Yeah, mine too. For the
they
record.
watched the game tonight. If the Avs go up 3-0, the series is basically over, and they need to think about suspending Kadri into round 2. And I think that's a very different conversation as to if the Avs lose tonight and they suspend him 2 games after this one, that guarantees, even if the Avs win both, that he's out for the series.
Yeah, I mean, I think just giving him just giving him 5 games right now. Count tonight, 5 games.
Yeah.
That gets it through the rest of the first round if it
No
goes
matter
7,
what.
and it goes into next round if it doesn't go 7. It would have been that easy. Just 5. And that would have been 10 regular season games because of how they, one regular. It's always
counts
it's
as
always
2.
Been,
Yeah,
always
they
been
always
2 to
count
1.
it as 2. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, but the fact that they keep delaying this makes me think like they're going to give him, like I joked the other day and said, oh, well, if they give him 10, that's absurd. If they give him 10, that's absurd.
It is. That'd be 10 playoff games is ridiculous.
It would either be a new precedent where they have to aggressively punish all of everybody.
I mean, they already failed that, given that they only gave Bennett 1 game.
It would definitely look very different in light of Sam Bennett getting 1 game for that charge.
Yeah.
Or I guess that. I don't know what he officially got
Boarding
suspended
or charging, whichever one,
was,
yeah.
It was Uber boarding and charging.
Yeah.
So pick one. But I'm like, my fear here is just that they're going to give him 10 games.
They just
and we
drop
don't,
the boom, yeah.
Yeah, we don't see Nazem Kadri until late in a 3rd round series.
Like middle of the 3rd round,
Yeah.
would be that. Yeah, that. See, I'm of 2 minds about it. The delay makes me think they're either going to do that or they're going to give him nothing. I think it's going to be one of the 2 extremes.
Well, they can't give him nothing at this point.
I mean, they can say they looked at all the angles in the match game. The match suspension was enough.
I think it would be offensive if they only gave him just tonight was his only punishment. That to me, I think that would be absurd. Just 0 games or 0, and in that case, 1 game would be absurd, and 10 games would be absurd. Let's just find a middle ground, right? How is this taking them 2 days to do?
To play devil's advocate, would 1 game be that absurd after
Yes.
Tom Wilson got none?
Yeah, these are different things.
I know.
They're different things.
I'm not trying to compare the events that happened.
The hit that Kadri laid was the same kind of hit that ended Mark Savard's career.
I hear you.
Like it is a textbook example of the kind of hit that they've worked very hard to dissuade players from making. And I think that's one reason why they would go aggressive on this. The other obviously being that Kadri is who he is. He has 5 suspensions in his career. Like, he's got a track record here.
While the events may not be similar, you can say the same thing about Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
And because of Kadri's season last year, Kadri does not currently qualify under the Department of Player Safety's guise as a repeat offender.
He's a repeat offender.
I agree, as is Tom Wilson in my eyes. But I'm trying to get inside the mind of the Department of Player Safety here. And we've seen that the NHL Department of Player Safety at times is willing to jump through hoops to not suspend dudes for as long as you and I think they should be suspended for.
Yeah. But they also come to those decisions quickly. That is not what's happening here.
That is true.
They are legitimately jumping. Happy birthday, Eric!
Woo!
They are.
Inappropriate, sorry.
They're working hard to delay this. This like the process is insane to me.
It makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Especially because
And
they...
yes, the repeat offender thing is only about money, not about length of suspensions, which is why that part of the conversation is one that I just ignore. But whatever.
The thing about them waiting that confuses me is immediately the following day they were like, all right, Kadri's going to have an in-person hearing.
Yeah, they knew. And then they were like, all right, well, we're doing this over Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, great. What is your guys... Do you guys not have a Zoom account? Is it taking you guys 48 hours to set up an account on Zoom and figure this out?
The NHL's home office internet is down or what?
Yeah, like, what the hell? This is so stupid. Just make a decision, and everybody has to deal with it and move on.
Yeah, I agreed. Though that's the weirdest part about it to me is the suspension or whatever it ends up being will be what it will be. But
it is not RK's birthday. He gets nothing special.
No, Eric said I could have his birthday.
oh yeah, true. Eric doesn't need another year added to that age number or what?
Yeah.
In any case, the whole situation is extremely weird.
Yeah.
And
So let's move away from the suspension specifically.
yeah, sure.
Interesting question though. If even when the decision does come down, does tonight's game count? Even though it hasn't.
Tonight
That will depend on when the decision comes down, right?
I mean, it's irrelevant because tonight is his match suspension anyway, and so the way that'll be included is they will take this match suspension into account when giving him X games. As we have more people crawling around the studio.
Michaela Spider-Man her way out of here.
Moving away from the suspension, as you said, look, the reality is the Avs are going to prepare for this game without him, and I don't think much changes if they are losing him for a handful more games as far as lineup preparation goes.
Yeah. So there was a lot of like the Avs are going to expose Kadri. They should in expansion, and
That's nonsense. That's
the Avs
absolute nonsense.
the Avs should move on from Kadri. The Avs are better off without Kadri. Where do you fall on Kadri's importance to the team today? 'Cause this was not something we talked about the other day, and I'm curious about it because we've been quiet about it while everybody else fights.
Is Kadri less important to this team than he was 25 games ago? Yeah, I think so. And that's as much about Newhook dropping into the NHL and looking like he's ready to play in the NHL.
Oh, see, I disagree with that part of it.
You don't think he's that ready?
No, I think I agree with the first part. I think he's less important than 25 games ago,
sure.
but I think that's because of the big leap forward from Tyson Jost.
Also valid.
That's where I think we've seen the value kind of start to even out. I don't think it has much of anything to do with Newhook, but
Sure.
okay, go ahead.
That's fine. You can put Jost as the guy there. Regardless, he has not played himself out of an expansion draft protection slot. Not even close. It's a no-brainer to protect that guy. He had a down year, and you still got pretty darn close to contract value.
and was your sixth highest score.
And was your sixth highest score as a dude who had 2 points in the last 14 games of the season or something.
I mean, he has one goal in like 30 games.
Yeah.
He's been picking up some assists here and there.
I mean, before he decided
also-
to take Falk's head off, we said he was looking good in that playoff game.
Yeah, I thought and if like you get into the fancies, his expected goals for stuff in game one was really good.
Yep.
The funny thing is that was really good. We were all frustrated with him because of his puck management in the offensive zone. It wasn't good,
No.
but at the same time, like nothing bad was happening to him while he was out there.
For sure.
Except for obviously the goal against, which was questionable because there's an argument of was he held by Jordan Kyrou and was how significant of a role did that play?
Yeah.
So that was, these taps don't work, guys. They're for show.
Someday we'll put beer on them.
Yeah, well, one of these days, but for right now, not going to happen today.
We can get rid of a beer. They're just in cans.
Yeah,
I
he just won't be able to. He won't be able to
I
like
need
turn
a
around and pour a
glass or
beer.
something. Yeah.
This is-
Someone super chatted saying I have to pour my own beer to end the stream. Which means I need a beer and a glass, which I'll do if we have a glass, and I'm sure we have an Avalanche over there or something. But
so where let's just assume. I think this is a fair assumption.
Yep.
No more round one.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah. So what? Not super worried about it.
So you don't think it'll make much of a difference this series, but against, let's just say, Vegas. They're up 2-1 in that series, so it's not like a huge leap here. Against Vegas, how much would a Kadri absence hurt them, given that center is kind of Colorado's ace in the hole?
Does it hurt? Yes. Is it series defining? I don't think so. You already mentioned Tyson Jost. If he steps up and continues to play like he did at the end of the season, last third, I guess. Look, the Avs can find ways to score. We've seen, while Kadri was cold, Andrei Burakovsky can drive that line.
Yeah.
You can find ways to get production there. So, are the Avs better with Kadri in? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do they need him? Honestly, no. I think they'll be just fine against Vegas. And
Okay, well, so it's riddle me this then. How do you settle up the fact that they're just fine without him and then say that they have to protect him in expansion? If he's not that important during a playoff run, why is he so important that they keep him around at all?
Because the Avs are just fine with everyone below Kadri in the lineup as well. if you can't lose McKinnon, you can't lose Rantanen, you can't lose Landeskog. All of them hurt. I think I'd probably put Burakovsky ahead of Kadri there.
Okay.
And then I probably have Kadri as number 5. And this is more a testament to the Avs' depth, that you can lose your 5th best forward and it not affect you that much.
Okay.
But if you lose, if it was instead of Kadri, just theoretically, if it was Saad, if it was Belmar, if it was Comfer, I think the Avs would be just fine without them as well.
Okay.
So again, losing Kadri makes them worse, but
I just don't know. I don't know how you settle up with they won't miss him, or it makes them worse, but they'll be completely fine against the other top end of team.
That's just how good I think this team is. You've seen Nathan McKinnon over the last 2 games.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's not going to continue. Like, we know
Not to that level.
We know
sure.
that won't continue.
But that doesn't mean it won't. McKinnon is not going to get his.
No, I think it's a fair assumption to just pencil in at least 1 point every night for that line. Like we talk about, that line gives you 1 goal every night. You start from there. You're trying to find 3.
And you have guys. Burakovsky can step up. Jost can step up.
Yeah.
Donskoy can step up.
Yeah, but I mean,
Mikko Rantanen hasn't scored a goal in these playoffs yet.
Yeah, those guys all can step up. Yeah,
they can.
Nazem Kadri could have also.
He absolutely could have.
And when he comes back from suspension,
he still could.
Yeah, exactly.
Is
that why this some of this the Avs are better without Nazem Kadri is
I don't
garbage.
believe that for a minute. Yeah.
Because when he comes back, assuming he's not suspended for the entire postseason.
There's no way. There's no way, right?
Right. But I'm just saying, we'll just operate under that assumption.
Sure.
For argument's sake here. Would that not be the ultimate redemption tour for him to come back and play the absolute best that he can?
The suspension is really just a week off for him to rest up and get 100% and come back and ball out.
Yeah, or 2 weeks or
however
3
long
weeks
it is,
or whatever it ends up being. Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, from an emotional standpoint, this has to be a super low point for him. He's an important piece on a Stanley Cup contender, a true Stanley Cup contender,
and
now he's
particularly after last year, where everyone started to think, okay, he can buck this trend.
Yeah.
He's not that guy anymore.
Yeah.
And now he's back to it.
Yeah.
For sure. Of course, for the Avs, you would love to see that redemption tour.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And make no mistake, when Kadri's game is on, he's absolutely an impact player on the ice.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like, so everybody points to how many goals he actually scored, but keep in mind, he shot 6% this year and scored 10 goals.
Yep.
That is a dude that you are looking at 1,000% as a legitimate just regression to the mean candidate for next year. Like, that's a guy that will not continue to shoot 6% in his career. He's like a 12% shooter in his career. Like,
yeah.
the idea that just because he wasn't scoring, like, it's very.
And you go look at his total points production, and it's totally reasonable. Like, even with the super cold stretch he had.
He was 6th on the Avs in scoring.
Exactly. So what is that? That would be 5th forward or 4th forward? Because I know McCarr was ahead of him.
He was tied with Gerard.
Tied with Gerard. Okay,
Yeah.
so there you go. So 5th forward. So look, the dude is still a quality NHL hockey player. Yes,
They're gonna miss him.
He had a bad stretch. They will absolutely miss him. I just think that the team is good enough that they can win without him.
I think it's true against St. Louis.
I think it's true against Vegas too. But
I disagree.
that's fair.
Yeah, I think they would be good enough. I think they would be good enough without Kadri against Minnesota,
Yeah,
but
for
not
sure.
against Vegas, especially because of, ironically, the physical element of it.
It's definitely a factor that Kadri brings to the team, right?
Yeah, he brings an edge, and that edge was important.
Yeah, it
Like,
certainly
you
matters.
You needed that edge. It was why you and I have been like, they're not too soft.
Yep.
They're
Because
they're
they have
not
dudes like Kadri,
Well, they're
for
not
sure.
an overly physical team, but they've not needed to be. They just need to be effective physically, and that's what they have been. Kadri gave them enough of that where it was like, okay, well, they're not soft.
Well, and it's
I think they will miss that part of his game. I wonder what they look like when they get a little less selfishness with the puck on offense, because he's been very tunnel visioned, and I do wonder what the offensive end looks like without him. Because look, he has been cold, and he has been selfish with the puck. So do they? If some of this will be line construction.
for sure.
You know, like if they just dropped, I don't think this is what's going to happen, but if they just dropped Soderberg in there, you go from Mr. Shooty to Mr. Passy.
Very, very two different looks there.
A totally different dynamic for that line immediately if they just swap those guys.
I think that's kind of the thing with Kadri. You live and die with his selfishness. You know that was the kind of player he was when you went out and got him.
Yeah, of course. He's always been a shoot first guy.
Yeah, and
It just got a little ridiculous towards the end.
I'm not going to lie to you. With him out, I'm a little bit excited to see the Blendar.
I'm curious.
I think it's a great opportunity to assess your lineup.
Yeah, this idea that Kadri wasn't helpful at all, this is absurd.
Yeah.
It's
Wrong.
crazy.
It's just there are 31 other NHL teams that would put Kadri in their top 9 immediately
Yeah.
without even thinking
There
about
are
it.
only probably 5 to 8 teams that would have him outside of their top 6.
Right. Exactly.
Like quality 2Cs are very, very hard to find, and Kadri is still just that.
Yeah.
So
I do want to move on from the Kadri point because we don't want to go too long on the pregame show here. Just to get back to my Blendar point.
yeah,
The Avs have a great opportunity
I
with
am excited to
Kadri
see
out
it.
of the lineup.
yeah.
Play one period, find the hot hand, roll it.
And I think that's what's going to happen tonight. I definitely and based on how Bednar's always coached.
Yep.
He's going to see which guys are going together.
Yep.
And he's going to start to work around that. And I think that like the Avs have enough interesting guys in their lineup, and this is where Alex Newhook becomes a real X factor for you.
If he's humming.
Yeah, because if Alex Newhook comes out and he's got an edge early and he's moving his feet well and he looks like he's engaged, and they start to give him a little All right, let's give him some offensive zone time.
Yeah.
Let's start to feed him some
Things
opportunity
start clicking a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And we don't know how the kid does.
Yep.
We don't know how the kid does. So good for him.
Yeah.
Happy to see that.
Good to hear that JT is okay.
Yep.
Obviously,
we don't
you hate to see stuff like that.
Yeah. I won't say his name on the podcast, but I'll wish him the best.
There you go. That's as good as you're going to get from AJ on the topic.
I tweeted about it.
Look, I mean, yeah.
It was awful.
Stuff like that is scary, and you just hope for the best.
It's kind of been 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
You really worry about that. No Falk tonight, no Bortuzzo tonight. I think that's important. We don't know about Vince Dunn. I really want to see, we're talking about the Blendar.
Yeah.
I really want to see the way that Jared Bednar hunts matchups with McKinnon tonight.
On away ice, especially
if Craig Berube wants to keep O'Reilly away from McKinnon, then Bednar should be honing in every single time that whatever a Mitch Reinke is touches the ice. McKinnon is out there. Every time Steve Santini is on the ice, McKinnon is out there.
McKinnon goes from swallowing O'Reilly whole to entire lines whole at that point.
Yeah, where he's I mean, dude, their lineup isn't great either. Like their lineup without Perron, like
they're struggling.
The diminished Tarasenko.
Yeah.
Jaden Schwartz is dealing with something because he keeps missing morning skates and then playing and not being overly noticeable.
Not so hot, yeah.
They're I think it's a bit of an uphill battle. Yeah, the Perry thing is an accident. It would be absurd to think that was on purpose.
Yeah,
it was so
skating up the ice. Tavares falls over and Perry tries to get out of his way.
Yeah, well, and you see the way his body whips out.
Yeah.
In front, and it's just like, oh my gosh.
Well, it's just a freak thing because Perry has 0.2 seconds to try and get out of the way, and Tavares at the same time is like trying to control his spin and get up off of his body a little bit, and it just there's nothing you can do about that.
Like Corey Perry sucks, but come on.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody would think that was intentional if it hadn't been Corey Perry.
Plenty of people in this bar will line up to shit on Corey Perry.
Yeah.
Now is not the time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I do think though that without Kadri, they'll be okay with the diminished defense. Bortuzzo and all, and no Falk. Bortuzzo's a physical guy. That's a key part of their PK, which hasn't mattered so far.
Yeah,
they've chewed them up on the PK. Missing Falk in the puck moving ability for Steve Santini and Mitch Reinke.
Gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vince Dunn slotting back into the lineup would obviously help alleviate some of that.
If
but
he's not rusty as hell.
Which Vince Dunn did they get? Did they get the Vince Dunn from 2 years ago who was a bit of an underrated player?
Yeah.
Do they get the Vince Dunn from this year who the Blues tried to trade 10 days into the season? So, depending on which Vince Dunn they get, it could be a good thing or a bad thing for the Blues. And, if he comes in and he's the bad version, they don't get any better.
One other topic I wanted to touch on really quick before we get off for the pregame and go get ready for the actual game.
Paul Byron goal is dope.
All right, Paul Byron goal is dope. Perfect.
Yeah.
Secondly, short leash on a Connor Timmins. If you see a week forward, do the Avs go 11-7 in Game 4?
I would love the concept of it.
I don't, but
I would love it because it sets you up to hunt the matchups, but it also gives you an excuse to give Byram a game action and control it a little bit. And look, if Patrick Nemeth goes out there and he's ghastly, you can literally save Patrick Nemeth just for a PK at that point. You don't have to play him without shorting your defense or whatever. And look, Timmons, same thing. If Timmons goes out there and he keeps with this nonsensical blind backhand pass up the middle of the ice in his own zone that he's done in both games, that's where getting Byram in there as the seventh guy, and this was a great chance to get him in there and kind of give him an opportunity. If he looks great, then you build from there. If he doesn't, then You sit him.
Conceptually, I don't mind the idea of it if it's Patrick Nemeth, the guy riding the bench and being a PK specialist. My fear, and I think probably more realistic, is you end up in a situation where either Byram or Timmins gets the minutes, and worst case, you end up with both of them playing like 5 minutes each.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that because Patrick Nemeth's minutes have been limited to like 12 minutes at even strength. So I think there's enough to chew into there.
But that's part of my fear is that, this would be absolute worst case scenario. Probably won't happen, to be clear, if they were to do it. But if you end up with that, all of a sudden you're playing Ryan Graves 20 minutes a night.
You already are.
But you're not a little bit worried about someone getting in over their head at that point?
No.
Okay.
No, because look, if Jared Bednar's already shown that if Byram's going to go, if he's going and he's playing well, it's going to get minutes. There's too much upside there. There's too much
hear
going
you,
for
so
him.
just play him and go 12-6.
Well, he hasn't played in 2 months. So this is an opportunity for them to say, okay, well, we'll ease him into the lineup. And then depending on that, they can figure out how they want to go there.
If he's in, he's in for me, man. Ride or die.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I just 11-7. Putting McCart forward would be stupid.
Okay, yeah, let's not get crazy.
I've joked about I pondered aloud about putting him in at 2 as a center
for the memes,
and just being like, just curious, how would he do? But no, it's not a thing that you do.
Yeah, no.
So,
in any case,
yeah. I like the idea of Byram. No, I would not put McDonald in as a 7th with Byram.
Not before Byram, not a chance.
Yeah, no. The answer's just no.
If only because of Byram's defensive metrics, which have been so good.
Well,
when
and
he's played,
look, so have McDonald's, right? But we also know that
you've seen how that bread gets made.
Yeah, the way that McDonald got there. There's a reason that he just, as the more he played, the less ice he saw.
Yeah.
Because it was just getting out of control, and it wasn't changing.
For sure. Okay. I think we're going to get out of here for the pregame show. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I think there's still a handful of spots left at the bar. You still might have time.
You better get here now.
Yeah.
It's already...
It's pretty full.
Yeah. We told people to get here early, and it sounds like everybody listened.
You got standing room only. You might be able to make it in. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, appreciate all y'all tuning in for this random podcast. We will be back post-game. Hope to see you all there. Until then, enjoy the playoff hockey.